Hi everyone, this is a recording of Chapter 2 materials in the Computerized Medical Office Procedures book. This is for Computerized Practice Management and EHR, our course in Blackboard. Chapter 2 begins on page 48 in your textbook. Now, right now I'm showing you my desktop because if you have successfully loaded the software, you should have three icons. A Metasoft Advanced, the blue, the teal says Work Administrator, and then the purple Office Hours Professional. This Chapter 2 information introduces you to Metasoft, so I'd like to start as you might on your desktop. So the first thing you want to do is double-click on the Metasoft icon, the blue one. Now remember, installing Metasoft is a two-part process. You need to install the software, and then the second thing that you must do is get the correct data, and that is located in our Blackboard course shell. Now I'm going to try and size my screen so that you can see everything, but in case you can't, I'll try and make it work here. Okay, when you open up Metasoft, this is what you should be seeing, is a kind of a bluish, light blue screen, and at the top you have, let's start with the very top, that is the title bar. That always is a place you need to look to orient yourself as to where you're at. Then you have a list of menus, options, as well as a shortcut toolbar. Okay, that's the top part, and let me slide this over a little bit. You also have in the upper right hand corner a minimize button, a restore button, and a close button that will close the entire program down. And if you hover over top of these, you will see they will provide you with a brief description of what they are, even these shortcut buttons as well. At the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to move my picture around a little bit here, you will see at the bottom these are not buttons you can click on. They are function keys, and they're kind of a shortcut reminder for you. If you need help and you forget that you have help up here, all you have to do is press your function row key, your F1 key, and the help feature will open up for you. Ledger, quick balance, etc. Okay, we're not going to be using those right now, but I want to kind of go over the entire picture here. And then over on the far right bottom of your screen, you'll see a date. And this is today's date, July the 26th. Remember, stay in the blue portion of it, and that's all Metasoft. If you go down below further, this is my computer date and time as well. Okay, I'm interested in the software date. And the first thing that I want to do is explain to you how easily we can adjust the dates on our software. If I just click on that date, it will pull up a calendar showing this. I can select tomorrow's date if I would like, and it just gives me an informational box saying, hey, you know you've selected a future date. I say okay, and look, it's changed my date to July the 27th. Let's say I wanted to select another month. All I did was click on the date at the very top of the calendar, and let's choose November just for fun. There we go. Now I'm in November the 27th. Let me show you how I did that again. I clicked on the date. If I click once, I get the month. If I click twice, I will get the year. And let's say I want to move it to 2016 and say okay to that. Let's say I wanted to go by a decade. If I triple click, I will get, let me do that one more time, I can get groupings of decades as well. Now I tell you this because our software, our book, all of our exercises exist in the future. Software like this generally likes to be in the present or in the future. It does not like to be in the past because that means you're trying to alter something that's already occurred. So this book is designed, all of our exercises occur in the year 2016 and 2017. So one of the first things all of our exercises will tell us to do will be to change our software date. All right, so step number one, get familiar with this. Don't be intimidated by it. Simply click on it once. If you don't want to do anything on that, like I'll just stay on that month, there we go, and I'm done. That informational box will always come up. Don't let that surprise you. Okay, now if we look in our book on page 49, we see some definitions here for databases. Now, let me go back. If you have done everything correctly, here's what I want you to do. Open up Metasoft as I have done and click on Lists, the option under all of our different menus, select lists, and then the very first option of patients, guarantors, and cases. Your very first patient should be Susan Arlen, or Arlen, comma, Susan. Okay, that's all I care about right now. All right, to get out of this window, we have a close button at the bottom, or if you would prefer, now don't use the large X, use the smaller X. There is a close button just for this window. It is below the entire program button. It's not the big red X, it's the smaller one. And it gets you right back to the same screen again. Okay, now I want to talk about the databases. I wanted to just confirm that you had the right patient information that you needed to download. And if you do not, please don't panic, but get in touch with me or our IT department. They will help you install the correct data. If you've inadvertently installed the wrong data, please call the IT department. There are a couple of steps that you must do to get the correct data back on your computer. It's not hard, but it takes a couple of steps. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your head. If you discover you don't have Susan Arlen as your first patient, don't panic. We'll get it working, but it takes a few minutes to get it back to the correct data that you need. Okay, now on to page 49 in your book. Look at the different kinds of data that this software captures, or most medical billing programs capture. Certainly we're going to have the doctor's information, the patient information, the insurance information, diagnosis codes, procedure codes, transaction information, and let me show you some of those things. This is the fun time. You can go kind of explore the software a little bit. Let's stick to the lists option. We're going to spend our first couple of weeks under this feature called lists. The first one was our list of patients, the very first option that says patients, guarantors, and cases. Now, let me stop a moment here and mention, for this menu bar, it provides you with pictures on the far left side. Those are your shortcut buttons. So after a while, if you notice there's kind of two patients here, one in gray and one in purple. If I look across here, look, there it is right there. So I don't have to go to lists and then click then patients, guarantors, and cases. I can click this shortcut button. Both of them will get you to the same place. So here is our list of patients. Okay, we've got all sorts of patients. We're going to learn how to put them in. We're going to learn how to make changes and adjustments, just not tonight. Okay, so that's one thing you can look at. Another one, back to lists again. Now I closed that down by clicking on the close button at the bottom, if you caught that. Go back to lists and you will see, let's look at procedures. We have some different options here. I'm not interested in pulling up a patient or a treatment plan or an entry template. I'm going to procedures. Here is a list of all the procedures that are currently in this database that we're using, and these are well, the diagnoses will be ICD-10. These are just different common things that are often performed in a doctor's office. You can see cultures, strep test, immunizations, tetanus. You can certainly look through these. And then we have different procedures for transactions or things that are performed in the doctor's office. As well as you'll see the code on the far left. You'll see a description of what it is. You'll see how much it costs, if it costs anything, and what is it. Right now, these are procedures. There are some payments in here as well. They're kind of all mixed together there. That's another database. I'm going to close it by clicking on the close button, and I'll show you one or two more. The diagnosis codes. These are the ICD-10 codes. If you've had coding, you're learning both ICD-9 and ICD-10 with the knowledge that ICD-10 hopefully will be implemented here before the year is out. So here are ICD-10 codes for diseases and problems that people have come in for. So if the patient says, hey, I'd like to see the doctor. I think I have an upper respiratory infection. They come in and the doctor might diagnose it as J40 or bronchitis. Okay, we will work with those. We will not be learning how to code. That's for other classes. This is more how to integrate all of this different data into this one software package. And they've built it fairly nicely. So let's close that one, and I'll just show you one more. Here are our insurance plans that we currently have agreements with. If you select insurance and then carriers, now here's a small window here. As a reminder, you can drag this window around and move it. I like to make it nice and big so that I can see everything, and you can see we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different insurance plans. Not a whole lot here, but that's some of our database that we are working with here. Okay, several examples of databases. Now on pages 50, 51 through 54, they kind of go through each of these menu choices. And I'll spend a couple of minutes on them, but I'm not going to go too crazy with them, because as we progress through this software, we'll learn how to use different features under them. Just some things to point out, as I've already mentioned, you have shortcut pictures to the left. If you find that you use one regularly, you can often find that somewhere. This, under the File menu, you'll see some things that we will talk about eventually: how to back up data, how to restore data, how to set the program date, which would just open up the calendar for us like we've already done. Here is where we can set up, I think this chapter discusses this. Yeah, it does. I'll save that for near the end here. We can set up security and passwords, and we can maintain our files. We'll look at that in a little bit. Under Edit, we have the very basics: cut, copy, paste, and delete. Activities, we'll spend some time under here as well as we progress. Certainly start exploring. Start checking out different things. Lists, we've talked about briefly already. Reports, we will spend some time on these in Chapter 9. These are everything that we need to print out. We would go to this particular one. Tools, we have a calculator at our fingertips if we would like. The Metasoft terminals, if we have to integrate it with a telephone. We have just some different things. We won't be using some of these because we won't be hooked up to a live service on the other end, as far as if we're sending data electronically. In the real world we would, but here as a demo we won't. If we would like to customize our window, here's a nice little feature. They have a sidebar for some of the more common options that people use frequently in Metasoft. So they give you a sidebar if you would prefer. You can set it up however you would like. You would find that we do, in the real world, we would use these three quite a bit: transactions, deposits, and claim management if we were working in an office system. Patient management, we would certainly have our appointment book, our patient list, address list, so they just kind of customized it. Under office management, if you needed to keep track of the doctors and procedures, diagnosis, insurance plans, and then reports. These are some common reports as well. That's found under Windows. If you want the sidebar, put a check mark. If you don't, remove it. I don't think there's anything else here I want to show you right now. And then finally, we have the Help button. Let's see, I am all the way over to page 54. I'll do a short little exercise just to show you about Help as well. Always remember that these software programs provide you with some means of looking things up, and that's often the Help feature. If the shortcut button for Help is the question mark, which you'll see over here on the shortcut menu as well. Okay, so that's a quick look at these, what are there, eight menu options. And all of these then reflect some of the more common things that you would be using. All right, you have that choice of using the menu bar or using the shortcut button. Hey, one other thing I'd like to mention. If you've ever wondered, if you've ever paid attention, do you notice how the letter F has an underline on it? E underline, V in activities. That's if you are a keyboard person more than a mouse person. And actually, this goes back, let me think, at least 20 plus years ago now, to whenever there was a program called WordPerfect, and it was more about keystrokes than it was about using a mouse. So if you find you want to open up File, you would press your Alt button first and then the letter F. I didn't click on that with the mouse. Here, I'll put my mouse over here. I'm pressing right now Alt and F, and it's opening that up. If I wanted to open up the Edit feature, if I would press Alt and E. Okay. Now, once you get to that second menu here, you'll see, let me choose, how about I choose Security Setup. I'm not going to press Alt now. I'm just going to press the S key. So the second level in, then I don't have to press the Alt key. Alt opens these up if you select the underlined word. Once you get there, once you get to this one, then you just press, in this case I press the S. Here, I'll move my mouse off of it. If I just press S, it brings up Security Setup. So that's just a little thing to remember. One other thing, if you notice, like OpenPractice has 3 little dots after it called ellipses. Notice that Global Login Management does not. That means when you see the ellipses, that means you have more questions or another dialog box to respond to. Okay. The other ones that don't have the ellipses after it just will take you directly to it. Let me see if I can find that under here. If I go to enter transactions, notice there are no ellipses. It will open up a new window with just transaction information in it. Okay, so let me close that. And if I go back to this and then select, how about I go to billing charges? Look, it brings up another window that I've got to answer or put responses in before I will get what I want. Okay, that's the point of those. Okay. If you look in your book on page 55, now I want to talk just for a moment about these exercises in the chapters. Every time they do an exercise or provide us with an exercise to do some hands-on things, they will label it in bright red. You see it has bright red and orange across the top on page 55. It says Exercise 2.1, Metasoft Menus. And it has you just kind of click around in some menus. That's all that is. At the bottom of that, they have Exercise 2.2, and they have you look at some toolbars. Okay, some toolbar buttons. So every time you see an exercise, that's how they mark it. Page 56 and 57 define each of those shortcut buttons. I'm not going to worry about that, folks. It's going to be you getting your hands on these things more than anything. So don't be panicked when you see these. I'm not going to have you memorize these 2 pages of stuff. Yuck. Page 58 talks about how we edit information, and I kind of skim over this because I'm not terribly interested in you having to open up something so deep yet as a transaction entry. But if you are interested, follow the step-by-step on page 58, Exercise 2.3. All of this chapter is about playing. It isn't about doing anything different or big deal. It's just having you play around in it and get comfortable with it. So take a look at that if you would like. Pages 62, 63, I talked about how to change the program date. Page 65, and I'm kind of skipping through all those. Page 65 talks about help. So let me go there now. So we're going to go to help, and they actually have a little exercise, Exercise 2-4 on it. Page 67, using the built-in help. It says click the help menu and then click Metasoft Help here at the very top. And this is pretty common if you've used any kind of help before. You can search by keyword. Let's say I was interested in changing the date. I'm just changing the date. Yeah, here, yuck. I put in date and I get all sorts of good things here. There's, I don't like any of those. Let's go to the calendar. That's a better one to choose. There we go. If I click on that, it will talk to me about how to change the calendar. That's in our schedule, sorry. See, I can't even find what I'm looking for easily. Shame on me. I just did that off the top of my head. Let's see what they have you do. They have you select index, I see, and they want you to type in, scroll down to diagnosis entry. Okay, scrolling. So remember that this is available if you need anything, but you have to know how to use it, I guess. There you go, diagnosis entry, and it tells me how to put diagnoses in. So don't forget that this is available to you. Okay, help is always a good thing to remember. Next, let's go to, I'm at the bottom of page 67 and 68. I want to talk about the importance of backing up information and then restoring information. And then the last thing that we'll talk about will be file maintenance things. Okay, so we will talk about how do we back up information. Let me get out of this. Let me go. Oh, one other thing I wanted to show you before I moved on here, and that is you can also sort under the help option by different major topics. If you click under contents, and then if you see the little plus signs beside it, it'll break it down a little bit more, and then a little bit more. Here it is, setting up the program and setting up the practice, entering transactions, creating claims. You can see all of these. Click the plus sign under each of these, and it will help you as you go. And then you can return it to the full size again as well. Okay, so let's get back to, here we go, our main screen here, and let's talk about the importance of backing up. To do so, we would do that. There are a couple of different ways to do that. Let me show you first the main way. Here, I'll slide my window over so you can see this. When we are ready to exit and be done with our program for the day, if we just close it down, it gives you automatically, every time you try and close it down, a backup reminder. And it gives you some information here. Your data should be kept saved. A backup of your data should be made on a different disk or tape, etc., etc. And in all caps, if your data becomes damaged, your only recourse is to restore your data from a backup that you have made. Please back up your data. We have the option of backup data now, exit program, or cancel. If we back up data now, it will ask us where we want to send it. And I'll walk you through this now. For our purposes, here in the class, it is hard to do this all the time. What I do when I'm teaching a class on ground is I give everyone a thumb drive or a flash drive, and they learn how to back up. Is it absolutely necessary that they back up every day? It is not, because we are students and we are learning. In the real world, when you're working in an office or a facility, they should have something in place where information is backed up every day. You might not even have to do that, but in smaller offices, they might not have a larger system where it does it, or the IT department hasn't built it in, so you might need to be responsible for that. Probably if we were talking live right now, several of you might have some stories of maybe companies you've heard that didn't back up their data, or maybe they did. I know some companies, I know one company has less than 15 employees. They back up their data every day, and a couple of employees take those backup disks home with them in case there was some catastrophe at the facility, the building caught on fire and burned down. There are companies that offer remote backup. You don't have to be on site to do it. They can access the computers and back up all your data, and they can be on the other side of the country and back it up for you. The impact of backing up data here cannot be stressed enough, because think of all the things that we have in this data. We have patient demographic information, patient health information, patient financial information, patient billing for our company to be running our business. This is a business and a livelihood, and if we don't keep track of the monies that people owe us and we never bill them, they won't pay, we won't get paid, we don't have money coming into the system. You know, if for no other reason, you can see it from a financial perspective. From the broader, bigger picture, you're talking about patients' health information, very sensitive information. We spent a little bit of time briefly talking about HIPAA before. It's crucial to have this information backed up. Now, again, all that being said, I don't expect you to do this It takes a couple of steps. It's not hard, but it takes practice. And I'm not going to worry about you backing things up all the time. We can get you what you're missing or restore you and get you back to your database as well. But let me show you how to do this. So we'll do the backup data now. So I'll choose that, and it gives me a warning. Hey, if anybody else is using the software, have them get out of it before you back things up. Say, okay, I'm good to go. And up will come this dialog box that says, where do you want to back things up at? If you had a flash drive plugged in, which actually I do on my laptop, which I'm using right now, I would click on the Find button. And this happens to be my flash drive because that's the name of it. I happen to know it's in my E drive, one of my USB ports on my computer. So I can select that, and I do have a folder in here called PTI. I can click on that, and I do have a folder called probably just Metasoft. Let's just go to Metasoft. There it is, Metasoft. And look, I even have backup folders here. I've got so many folders in here. I'll put it in backup, even though this is August 2013, and I'll select OK to that. So it changes the destination up here so that it will put it in there for me. If I wanted to name this, I don't know. If I wanted to name this file, I would put it here. If I choose not to name it, it will insert today's date. So today's the 26th. I'm going to leave this blank after this all these different files it's going to. I'll click on Start Backup. Notice that it put in MW 7/26/2016, if you could see all of it. It's backing it up right now. Giving it just a second here. And it will be done when all of these say 100%. It says backup's complete. Say OK. And I can close this down. Okay. Metasoft still oops. No, I had told it to back it up now. Let me show you where that's at. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Go to my folder. Here's my flash drive. Here's my PTI. Metasoft. Here it is. And I put it in backup August. There it is. Right there. Now, I can't open this. It will not open if I don't have Metasoft open. Okay, .mbk stands for Metasoft Backup. MBK, Metasoft Backup. Okay, so don't think I can just open this and it will magically appear. I've still got to be running my software to do that. All right, so let's go back into Metasoft so I can show you another way to back things up, just because I want to be thorough here. And I can also back up information. Making sure my software is working here, by clicking on File and Backup Data. Now, when I did it the first time, I did it by closing down the program and getting prompted by this. I'm going to cancel out of this. I'm going to go back up to File and tell it to Backup Data. And again, that backup warning comes saying, hey, if anybody else is using this, have them exit first. This same window will come up, and I can tell it where to. Notice it's still showing what I just did in there. And then I could start back up, and the only difference between choosing it from File or choosing my Close button is my program would not close. It would back it up, and then I could still have my program open. Okay, so that's step one of backing things up. So that's page 67, 68, 69, and if you want to try that, that's fine. I'm not going to fuss about that, but I want to talk about that with you so you're understanding the importance of backing up data. Now I will tell you on page 70, there is an exercise 2-6. Notice that it is not red and orange, it is red and gray. We cannot do these. I know we are all in Connect, but I have not signed us up for the Connect demo version online, the web-based version of Metasoft. You have better stuff. You have the real thing. You have the software on your own computer. So ignore exercise 2-6. Okay. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is how do we restore information. Let's say we backed it up. All I have to do is start up Metasoft, go to File, and slide down to Restore Data. Okay, click on that, and it asks me here when I want to restore, hey, you know you're going to overwrite all your files. Yeah, I know that. And up will come a window that will look very similar, except it says Restore at the top. Where do you want to get it from? I would click on my Find button. I would find where I saved it to. In this case, it happened to be my E drive. It was in a folder called PTI. I'm there already. I would slide on down to Metasoft, somewhere in here. Okay, I'm almost there. There we go. Metasoft, there it is. And then it was this backup folder. And then I would say OK. And it will show me all the existing backup files that I currently have in that particular folder. If I were to highlight it, tell it to start restore, and it says, you know you want to do this, right? I'll say, yes, I do. And restore is complete. It has now overwritten anything I previously had, which was nothing, and given me back that particular data. Okay, so that's about restoring information, backing up and restoring. And one of the last sections here in the book on page 72 talks about some file maintenance. Now, we won't be doing this so much, but I want you to understand the features of this. You'll find file maintenance under File. Slide all the way down to the very next to last option. File maintenance, I don't know what that icon is. I have no idea. And open it up, and you're going to see 4 different tabs as soon as it loads here. Takes it a second. Notice the window says File Maintenance on it. We have Rebuild, Purge, Pack, and Recalculate. And you will see a definition of each of these on pages 73 through 75. And because I won't be spending too much time on these, other than I know they're on the worksheet, and I know they have questions for you on the chapter review material. So make sure you understand what it means to rebuild an index, and it tells you here on page 73. It checks and verifies data, and any internal problems that it has in there, it will correct it. Packing it is to delete any vacant slots that are in the database. As the database grabs and pulls things, sometimes it's not all packed in nice and tightly, so it will do that. Purging will delete files of patients, so you have to use that with caution. And then the 4th one is recalculating balances, where it will update balances on dollar signs and everything, figures for that. Okay, so that's your file maintenance. And then the last is on page 77. It does offer some of the security features that HIPAA demands now, and that will be security options. So back to File again. And we have a couple of them. We have security setup and login password management, both of them. And under on page 77, they have a word here or phrase for access rights. We can determine how much, I think it's under, let me look here. If I were to go for a new user, yes. Here, I'm under security setup just to show you. You can create a login name, and then their password, they could do that, set up their password. Access level. We have access 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and this is what page 77 addresses. How much information can they access within Metasoft? Maybe this is a person who's just beginning, and we want to teach them how to schedule patients when they call in on the telephones, but we really don't want them to have financial information yet. So maybe that's an access level 1 or 2. Okay, so we can set that up as well. You can see different questions that they would have to choose to gain access to their information. We've all been there, right? You know, you have to set up your security question and all that kind of stuff. So that's under security setup. And then the other is login password management. You can decide how many days before they have to create a new password, how many characters have to be in there. Do you want it to be part numbers, part letters? So this is the software trying to be compliant with HIPAA demands. Okay, so it's pretty cool when you start to see the options that are available to you, and you start understanding all that goes into making a program that would navigate through all this stuff, store all this stuff. It's pretty cool. All right, on that happy note, I am done with Chapter 2 materials, and we'll move on to Chapter 3 here next week, or this coming week. Good night, everyone.